Before we proceed, I would request Sri Manoj Mehta to present a bouquet to Sri Abhishek Joshi, who is a member secretary of the Action Committee Against Corruption in India. So I would request Sri Manoj Mehta to present a bouquet to Abhishek Joshi. Please be seated. I would now request our PT from Navsari, Gujarat, Sri Ravin Desai, to introduce Dr. Swamy.
Respected Dr. Swamy, Professor Vaidyanathan, Jagdish Shetty ji, Dr. Chaturvedi ji, M.R. Venkatesh ji. It is indeed a sacred moment for me to introduce Dr. Swamy. Dr. Swamy was born on 15 September 1939. I will brief you about him, which makes him unique from other politicians and academicians. After getting masters from Indian Statistical Institute in Kolkata, he went to Harvard University to pursue his PhD in economics. He is one of those few individuals who earned their PhD in 1.5 years, which is still a sort of record. Challenging the status quo is not his current habit, but during his masters in his 20s, he challenged then director of the Indian Statistical Institute, Mahalanobis' fractal graphical analysis theory, and as usual, quashed it. Dr. Swamy's paper was published in the Econometrica journal and noticed by Harvard, and Harvard then called Dr. Swamy on full Rockefeller scholarship. At Harvard, Dr. Swamy wrote research papers and worked with 2 Nobel laureates, Dr. Simon Kuznets and Paul Samuelson, the father of modern economics. After meeting Jayaprakash Narayan at Harvard, Dr. Swamy decided to respond to the higher call and joined Indian politics. In 1971, at the age of 32, Dr. Swamy published a book called Indian Economic Planning, an Alternative Approach, which was then noticed by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. In 1976, during emergency, he was one of the most wanted, which is now even evident in the WikiLeaks cable. And he went to USA to make people aware about the emergency and death of democracy in India. When in 1976 he re-entered Parliament in a dramatic manner after an exile and again escaped, Dr. Swamy became a national hero. Later on he became the Minister of Commerce and Law of India in the Chandrasekhar government and wrote the fundamental architecture of India's economical reforms, which were subsequently carried out by the Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh, in which government Dr. Swamy became the chairman of the Commission of Labour Standards in International Trade, equivalent to the rank of a cabinet minister. Even it was acknowledged by Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh that it was Dr. Swamy who envisaged the India's economical reforms. Dr. Swamy knows Mandarin Chinese language very well and is considered an expert in the Chinese economics, and he has authored various books on this. He was the pioneer who initiated the opening of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra by Chinese government in 1980s. Dr. Swamy is also credited for his initiatives and vision to have good relations with Israel. Dr. Swamy also fought the Ramasetu case single-handedly and won it. Now he is fighting in the Supreme Court whether Ram Setu should be declared as a heritage structure or not. The importance of this case is immense, as it will prove all Western and British theories false about India's heritage and therefore restore us as the oldest civilization in the history of mankind. Dr. Swamy has unearthed the 2G spectrum scam, which has shaken the UPA-2's foundations. The figure of 1.76 lakh crore which Sir has discovered has in a way awakened the whole nation about corruption. As M.R. Venkatesh rightly said, using existing laws, Dr. Swamy proved that corruption can be diminished. I think more status of 2G we would like to know from him only. Last but not the least, many may not know, but Dr. Swamy is one of those few leaders who were a great friend of both Shri Morarji Bhai Desai and Shri Rajiv Gandhi. And now, to address the first of its kind Global Patriotic Tweeples Conference, I request the man who is there fighting for all of our future, with love, affection and respect, whom we know as one-man army, Dr. Subramanian Swamy.
Hiren Seth from Valsad will present a bouquet to Dr. Swamy. Hiren Seth.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jagdish Shetty, Mr. Abhishek Joshi, Professor Vaidyanathan, Professor Arvind Chaturvedi, and M.R. Venkatesh. And friends who are now part of the great PT army, the new army that is emerging in the country. I hope you realize that we are today on the verge of a new revolution. A revolution based on social media, for which the vested interests have no answer. They cannot censor you. They can try to control you, but they won't succeed. And the most important part of this social media revolution is that it is gender neutral. Both women and men can participate equally. I'm very pleased to see such a large turnout of women in this audience of our PTs. I think the other important thing is that for the first time after freedom struggle, we are seeing the educated classes in revolt. For too long, the educated classes abdicated their interest in politics, created a vacuum which was filled by criminals and corrupt people. As Arvind Chaturvedi correctly pointed out, it is we who have made it possible. And now we must win back that theater of war called democracy and the battlefield which is called elections back to those who are committed to this country, nationalist and well educated. I'm supposed to speak today on the current affairs, politics and the way forward. Current affairs is an outcome of past politics. Whatever has happened in the last 60, 65 years is responsible for the current situation. And for having a way forward, we'll have to search for new ways of doing politics. So that's why today I will speak to you about how we should position ourselves by which we can bring about change. If you read the biography of all successful revolutionaries, and doesn't mean necessarily revolutionary has to be violent, someone who brings about major change. Mahatma Gandhi was a revolutionary. Vivekananda, of course, was a revolutionary visionary. The same way Jayaprakash Narayan was a revolutionary, because he brought together various opposition parties and thus made it possible for Congress party to be replaced in the center for the first time in 30 years after independence. But if you look at all the revolutionaries of India as well as abroad, you notice that the most important message that comes out of their life is that they were not worried about whether they will succeed or not. They were only positioned when the change came. And almost all revolutionaries of the view that change does not come because you are the person who brought the change. Change comes through events. And the revolutionary is one who is positioned at that time to take advantage of that change, that event. So when World War II ended, Britain won the war. Suddenly Britain began to feel apprehensive that there is an atmosphere of revolt in the country. The Navy had gone on revolt. Army men were talking openly about not taking command from the British. Even though they won the war, they felt now they will not be able to remain in India. And at that time Gandhi was present. And they could hand him the power. And that's how we achieved independence. In 1977, the event was Mrs. Gandhi declared an election. We did not bring down the emergency. The emergency was well established. And everybody was predicting to me, why you are wasting your life like this? This will never go. We poor people do not know what democracy means. And Indira Gandhi will remain for another 20 years. After that, Sanjay Gandhi will come, and after that his dog will come, but you have no place in politics. But one day Mrs. Gandhi declared an election. And because of Jayaprakash Narayan, a Janata Party was in place. And the people voted for that party. So don't ask ever this question, will this ever change? Nothing will change in India. I find young people asking me this question all over the country. As Professor Vaidyanathan correctly said, change is in the air. Some event will happen. I don't know what that event is. Professor Vaidyanathan says, I know the event, but I'm not telling. But I want new sort of people, not apathetic to India, not a one-dimensional mind. That one-dimensional mind which says, I must make a good career. I was very disappointed when I went to the IIM. I don't know whether IIMB is different from IIM-A. But when I addressed the students of IIM-A, which is Ahmedabad, the answers everybody gave me when I asked them, why did you do all this effort of competitive exam and come here, is that we want a good job. Many times I've told you, I've tweeted also, that at Harvard, where I had students from many, many countries, I used to pose one question. Now that you are completing your degree here, you're going out in the real world, what kind of career are you going to pursue? To me, there are two kinds of careers you can pursue. One is that you take risk and try something on your own. You might become a billionaire like Microsoft chairman became. Or you may fall flat on your face and be on the streets. Or an alternative, you get a job. Every year, every month you will get your salary. Every year it will rise by 5%. And at the age of 60 you will get your provident fund. And then you buy a house and watch television for the rest of your life. Which kind of life would you prefer? And American students invariably used to ask me, what's the probability we will fall flat on our face? Then I will tell you the answer the American student used to say. But the Indian student generally would say, no, we prefer the second job. And when I asked them why, when that is guaranteed poverty, why you want such a job? Why don't you take the risky prosperity alternative? They said, because it is guaranteed, that's why we want that job. Even if it is poverty. This is the mindset that after 1947, this English curriculum has produced in the minds of our young people. It's not that we don't have talent, we have proved ourselves in so many fields. Software, many of you have proved. Today out of this ranking of 1 to 5 of SEI, CMM for software companies, the top rank of 5, the largest number of companies in the world are Indian companies, 36 Indian companies. Even the American companies are only 15. And China has just 1. We have demonstrated in Japan through the Deming Prize for automobile ancillaries, the first prize year after year. So there are places you can see, and the Indians who are brought up in the United States, not shackled the way our children are shackled in their education. They are on top of the competitive exams in America. Now Indians are acceptable almost everywhere. And many of the things that we in our country invented, now the Americans are using. When I was a college student, we used to all snigger at the idea of yoga. Said, what is this contortion? The madness it is. Why should we be living in the past? But very soon, the Americans accepted it. Jane Fonda came on video on yoga, and soon all Indians began saying yoga is a very good thing. Now everybody is doing yoga. Same thing with Sanskrit. Today NASA has accepted Sanskrit. American government has given special grants for any college teaching Sanskrit. But if you say it in India that you must learn Sanskrit, say communal. But sooner or later, when the Americans start speaking Sanskrit, then you will see that we will also, as fashion, start learning Sanskrit. So this country has been a developed country for centuries. People used to come all over from the world to this country. For it to become developed again, we have got everything except the mindset. And that mindset today, the Indian mindset, is typified by Manmohan Singh. He's sitting in the most powerful office in this country, but he is not able to handle a 5th class pass Italian woman. He has the entire file about her with him, which the intelligence RAW has given to him. But he is frightened of her. Why? And that's why I keep repeating to you that neither numbers nor strength by itself is enough. You must have a mindset in tune with that. You may have 1,000 goats in one place, and one tiger will come. The numbers are with the goats, but they will be the one who will be running. And the single tiger will chase them for his lunch. You can go to a circus and see 5 well-fed lions inside a cage. A thin, wiry ringmaster will come inside the cage, lock the door, and order them all to climb up on the bench. All of them will climb up on the bench. Then he'll say, open your mouth. They'll open their mouth. He'll put his head inside it. Why don't these lions attack him? Why don't they bite his head off when he puts his head inside? Because the lion from its cub stage has been prepared mentally to obey this ringmaster. Same thing, in Hindi or Sanskrit we call lion a Singh. And now Manmohan Singh is a circus Singh. Brought up this way. I've known him for years. His mindset is like that, to obey. That is the mindset you should break out of. And how do we break out of it? Now, we have big problems ahead of us. Very, very big problems. Never this 10 years or nearly 10 years of UPA has put together so many problems. It's going to be difficult for us to get out of it unless we take some bold steps and have a bold outlook. In 1990, when I became minister, what had happened? There was a foreign exchange crisis. Why? Because in 1985, Rajiv Gandhi decided to liberalize imports. And after almost, 1950 to 1985, that's 35 years, industrialists, private companies could not import could not import machinery without a license. And so suddenly they got an opening. But Rajiv Gandhi made the rule that you have to raise the money abroad. And all these industrialists did the easiest thing they could do, took short-term loans. These short-term loans were due for repayment within 5 years. It's easy to get short-term loans. And so a large amount of machinery was imported into India. As a consequence, our industrial growth rate went up. It went up to 11-12% during Rajiv Gandhi's period. But by 1989, Rajiv Gandhi was out. 1989, VP Singh came to power. And then what did he do? VP Singh started distributing, writing off. And meantime, these international events took place. Gulf War, prices of oil shot up. And there was no money in the foreign exchange, in our foreign exchange reserves. And then these payments became due. We were short of $2 billion. And we had to declare bankruptcy. Default of payments would have been a big disaster. At that time, Chandrasekhar told me, "Kuch karo, nahi to hum sab marenge." I don't know what to do. I mean, where do you get $2 billion? I could go to the World Bank or to the IMF, but then they would put such stringent conditions that the communists and the left wing all would make such galata, they won't be able to get it through Parliament. But fortunately at that time, luck was there. That's why I say, if you strive, suddenly some event will take place. The American ambassador came to see me, and he said that he wanted American planes coming from Philippines to refuel in India before going on to Kuwait, where the war was going on. And I made a deal with them that we will change our policy never to allow foreign planes to land in India, foreign military planes to land in India. In times of war was the policy followed from Jawaharlal Nehru's time. We changed that, allowed American planes to land, but the deal was that they will get us $2 billion from the IMF without condition, which the Americans have the power to get done. So that changed it. And then what was considered impossible happened. All these great economists who are run away from this country, these left-wing economists like Amartya Sen used to say, this is a Hindu rate of growth, 3.5% per year. India can never grow faster than that. It was actually a Soviet model rate of growth. But because that was failing, therefore they passed it off as Hindu rate of growth. But just by deregulation, we were able to reach 8% during the Narasimha Rao's period. Could anyone have predicted that we'll grow at 8%? No. Everybody thought India cannot. It's a big country because how can we, there's so much poverty, there's this, unemployment, all kinds of things you hear, this defeatist logic. But those economic reforms brought about change. I prepared the blueprints. Narasimha Rao had the political guts to get it implemented. And all that Manmohan Singh did was to put a signature on the file. Of course, he's a economist of great repute, but he doesn't have that savvy, that guts to get it done. If as finance minister, as the media gave him all the credit, he could get so much done, then why as prime minister he is not able to get it done? If anybody has to get the largest share of the credit, it should be Narasimha Rao. And see how he was humiliated. So I am saying, therefore, first thing is your mindset. Don't think in these negative terms. These negative terms are always will produce negative vibes in your body. Think positively. And therefore you have to get some spiritual guidance which the Gita will give you. That you have only your rights to action. The results, Lord Krishna says, I will decide. You will get the reward for your karma. But what and where, in which form, that I will decide. So therefore you must now say, I am going to do this. I am going to change India. I am going to work in this direction. If it comes, fine, that's Lord's wish. It doesn't come, fine, but I have done my duty. That mindset you have to develop. Then only will become a new Indian. Because today the Indian is, kuch nahi hone wala, nothing will happen. What didn't they tell me when I went to the court? What did they use? No minister ever gone to jail. They are not going to give you permission. Congress party will fight this. But I went to court and said that the Manmohan Singh is not giving me permission to prosecute Raja. He's been sitting on my letter seeking permission for 1.5 years. All these Kapil Sibbals and all said, who is Swamy? Every citizen, any citizen can write a letter and the Prime Minister take notice. Well, the Supreme Court thought otherwise and said to Mr. Manmohan Singh, file an affidavit why you didn't reply to Dr. Swamy's letter and tell us why you are not giving sanction. Never in the history of India or the history of any world, the Prime Minister has been directly sent a notice by the Supreme Court. Nobody would have thought this happened, but it happened. Had I not tried, you would have never known it can happen. So without trying to give up is losing the war, losing the battle before even starting the battle. Lose a battle after fighting it, no harm. But to lose a battle before even fighting it, that is what is wrong. So what is the problems that we face today? We have an economy that is heading for a crash. Let there be no doubt about it. And that crash is particularly sharp in two areas which can engulf the whole economy. One is we have a fiscal deficit, in our budget, central government budget, which is now reached, center and states combined, to more than 12%. That is called the Latin American rate. Because the Latin Americans frequently have financial crises because of this factor. Our budget is not balanced and the deficit has now reached this stage. The deficit is covered by making the Indian government-owned banks to part with loans. And they have to give it because it's an Indian-owned bank, which means that private sector will not get enough money. That much money that you take away cannot go for private investment. So that money is taken and it is not invested by the government of India. It is used for revenue expenditure, which means it is not going to produce growth. But the problem is that today if you get 1 rupee more of loan from the bank by the government, then you have to pay back 97 paisa as previous return of the previous loan and with interest. It's called amortization. So only 3 paisa is the gap. In another 2 years, it will become more than 1 rupee. You borrow 1 rupee, you have to pay back more 1 rupee. That's called a debt trap. How are you going to get out of it? By pruning the government expenditure. Easier said than done. What will you prune? Politically, tell me, can I prune subsidies? No. Can I prune defense expenditure? No. Can I prune police expenditure? No. Can I prune interest payments on past loans? No. Can I prune government salaries and pension payments, provident fund payments? No. If you add up all the things that you cannot prune, it works out to be 99% of the budget expenditure. So you can't prune. So where is it going to come from? So you mean you'll raise taxes like every day they're raising on petrol prices and all that? This is madness. Because these things have wide-ranging effects. So where is the resource going to come from? Well, I can tell you where the resource is going to come from. In fact, when I suggest that abolish income tax, everybody says we are having a resource problem. This man is saying abolish income tax. Why should I not abolish income tax? Who pays income tax? Because of people like M.R. Venkatesh? Rich people don't pay income tax. The chartered accountants find out to balance and they'll show a loss when they're making a profit. The poor people don't pay income tax because they don't have income. It is the middle class, professionals, software engineers, doctors, these are the people who are paying. Because you catch them at the source. So if you were to, and that's harassment galore. So abolish it. And there will be liberation. The people, middle class particularly, and their wives. I don't know whether your wife agrees with your sentiment that women are superior to men in India. You have our permission to say so? Somebody said, I am a boss in my own house and have my wife's permission to say so. So, this money will go into savings. Savings will go into investment. Investment will go make growth. Growth through indirect taxes will give you revenue. And it can be shown that the amount you lose by income tax revenue will be much less than the income tax, the revenue you get from indirect tax due to increase in growth. But I'm saying, but what about the fundamental question of the debt trap? That question has to be answered. There is no shortage of resources in India. If you had auctioned the 2G spectrum 2G spectrum licenses, if you had auctioned it, you would have got at least 1,76,000 crores. If you had auctioned the coal blocks, you would have got 9 lakh crore rupees. If you auctioned the oil fields which you gave to the Ambanis, you would have got 24 lakh crore rupees. What is the total tax bill of India? Direct and indirect tax combined, only 4.5 lakh crore rupees. Here you got 1,76,000 from 2G spectrum. From 3G you got already 4 lakhs. Then you are going to get 4G very soon. And that's because your documents, 10,000 documents can be sent on 4G. Therefore, there is going to be a big demand for it. Particularly from the corporate sector. And therefore, you are going to get 7-8 lakh crores in that. No shortage of that. Coal blocks, unlimited coal blocks we have in India. So, the total tax bill is only 4.5 lakh crores. Then if the next government picks the brain of Professor Vaidyanathan and gets all the money abroad, which is kept by what a simple solution he has suggested. I have already tested this from one of the most well-known jurists of India, Fali Nariman, who told me many years ago that this is the way to do it. Only difference between what he said and what Professor Vaidyanathan said is, Vaidyanathan said, pass it through Parliament. I say, wait till Parliament goes on recession and bring out an ordinance. Then ordinance becomes law till the Parliament meets again. That means 6 months away. So you can get an immediate law. And all this money, how much is it? 70 lakh crore rupees are abroad, which are illegal money. Where is the shortage of resources? There is no shortage of resources. We have potential now to spurt in our economy. What about agriculture? This is a drag, people are committing suicide. But do you know that we are even today the cheapest producers of agricultural products? Go to any WTO publication, it will come out. We are the only ones who can give subsidy to agriculture on basis of international calculations. There is a formula by which they calculate what percentage of subsidies you can give. India can give 150% of the production of agriculture, value of agriculture production as subsidy. Because our international prices are so much below. Potential is enormous. Yield per acre is so low. What is the difficulty in raising the yield per acre? The Indian Council of Agricultural Research is producing 11 times as much yield per acre as the common plot in the country through experimental plots by giving correct water, electricity, etc. So if the Indian Council of Agricultural Research plots can produce so much, why can't we produce the whole? The sand dunes of Egypt produce 3 times as much cotton per acre as India does. The fertile lands of India does. I give an example very often. We have 150 million cows which produce 200 liters per year on the average. One Israeli cow on the average produces 11,000 liters per year. Imagine if 150 million cows started producing 11,000 liters per year, how much milk we will have. Where will you put that milk? Export it. Because the price of milk is 9 times more in Europe than in India. So you export it. Well, you can't export it because the WTO, the subsidies which the Europeans give make it impossible for you to compete. So to remove that subsidies, you'll have to argue in the WTO because WTO says you cannot put these subsidies. So you have to argue, you have to make deals, you have to get it done. But there's no focus. So India can become a global agricultural power. All you have to do is empower the farmers, give them, every district should have a small airfield, put cold storages everywhere, enable them to use the internet to find out where the market is. It's not only wheat, rice, vegetables, fruits, but even flowers, milk of course. All these can be produced in abundance in India and exported. It requires a focus. That focus has never been there. Because the Nehru craze for industrialization, there was nothing wrong with industrialization, but this total focus only on that and extracting resources from agriculture to finance industrialization is the biggest blunder ever committed. So it's not a problem there at all. Similarly, on this today, the most alarming statistics that has come out is called the current account deficit. 6.5% of GDP. All through the last 20 years, it was never more than 1.5%. It was a deficit, but 1.5%. Today, 6.5%. Very soon, if tomorrow all this money that comes in foreign investment dries up or slows down, we are going to have a foreign exchange crisis. A major foreign exchange crisis. Let me tell you one thing. Financial system is the most important part of your economic system. And no country has been able to make sustained progress unless the financial system is good. We need people like Professor Vaidyanathan, who understands, and M.R. Venkatesh, who understand the financial system, very well. That, for example, I'll give you. All through the 60s and 70s, people said, Latin America is the new developed world. Argentina, Brazil, Chile, they will all become fully developed countries. They all had in the mid-70s a financial crisis and they have never recovered. Even today there are daily financial crises in these countries. Everybody has forgotten these countries. Then there was this East Asian tigers. Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Malaysia. They said these are the new tigers. World Bank even wrote a book, East Asia Miracle, in 1995. In 1997, these countries had a financial crisis. Japan collapsed. And even today, Japan has not got up. There's no Japan. Where is the Japan growth story today? Of course, the World Bank had to write another volume immediately. East Asia Miracle Reconsidered. Volume 2. The economist who was my classmate who got the Nobel Prize was a man called Stiglitz. He wrote the first volume, he had to write the second volume also. But I could never meet him again, otherwise I would ask him what happened. Now, there are examples all over the world. What happened to the American? The American system would not have collapsed but for these derivatives. Where they made it possible, see the collapse of the American system, please understand how fragile our financial system is. The banks used to give loans for buying or building houses to residents, US citizens. Now one day these wise guys from Harvard Business School devised a financial derivative with which they went to the bank and said, listen, you have given so much money to build a house. And so this much money of yours is frozen. You will get it back in installments, that is true. So we propose that with a 10% discount, we will give you this money which you have given to that householder, and that person to buy or build a house. And we will collect the installments from him. So the bank was very pleased. Suddenly they got their money back, minus 10%. And these people then went with that to collect their installments. And they got 10% value for it, so they also made money. It's like this Lehman Brothers, Fannie Mae, all these are the companies who were doing it. So the bank now with this money said, well, why not give another loan? So they gave another loan to another person to build another house. Immediately they came back, 10% discount. We give you the money and take it. Like that, the thing started snowballing and there was a household boom. But the number of people who are in a high income bracket who could pay back the installments started reducing because you are covering them. So finally the banks decided they had become greedy. So they decided to give to people whose income was not very high. That was called subprime loan. That's why it was called subprime loan. And they gave it. But then a small recession took place for some reason. And suddenly these people said, we can't pay the installments. We want to take the house back. And suddenly, banks are being, these Lehman Brothers and all suddenly are loaded with houses which they can't sell. The property market dropped naturally. And that's how the crash took place. And that's how it happened. This should not have affected India. Because our banks are under strict control of the Reserve Bank on exposure to the private, to the real estate market. But our problem was this participatory note, which for the first time I see M.R. Venkatesh didn't mention. The Chidambaram Sonia Gandhi instrument for looting India. I've said it so many times in so many PT conferences, you know what participatory notes are. These participatory notes have brought billions of dollars into India. In September 2008, $61 billion left our country because participatory notes brought money and the condition was they can take it out anytime they want. So it was short run. It was called hot money or portfolio investment. So that went out. As a consequence, the stock market collapsed. And that's how we got our economic crisis. Otherwise, had the participatory note not been there, there would have been no economic crisis. So today we have this problem. We have a current account. Now where are you going to make up? Well, you have to find new ways of exporting. It can be found. Today China's so-called export miracle is nothing but importing semi-processed goods from Japan, Taiwan and others. Take this Lenovo. Lenovo is written made in China, but it is not made in China. It is made in Taiwan. And it comes in semi-processed state, then they put the box over it, the glass over it, the buttons on it, and then put a chap made in China. And that is called value adding. Now then they export it to America and Europe. Why can't Taiwan directly export? Because their labor is expensive. So therefore they want to save on labor costs, so they are sending it to China. So China imports from East Asia semi-processed goods, adds value and then exports it to Europe and United States. They get a huge balance of trade surplus with the West and Europe, that is Europe and America, and a smaller deficit with East Asia for importing. But that deficit is covered up by the surplus. So China has built up a huge foreign exchange surplus. So what India can do? Should have done it already. They should have gone to these East Asian countries and say, we are a democratic country. You're sending it there. Or you should have told the Americans, because these are all American chamcha countries. You see, should have told the Americans, you see, you want to be friends with us, then please ask these countries to send some part of that trade to us. But the Japanese, the Taiwanese, what do they say? Hey, India is full of hassle. In China, they take a bribe at the top level, but then after that everything works smoothly. Here in India, everybody has to be paid. Octroi you have to pay. Electricity connection you have to pay. Land allotment you have to pay. It's a harassing thing. We don't like hassles. Remove your hassles. Make your road without potholes. Make the turning around of a ship from 7 days that you require today to 7 hours like in Singapore. Singapore does it even less. So then we will come. So here you want to export. This is the way. What is there in building roads? There's nothing. It's all corruption that is responsible. So therefore, if you get your act together on this, you can export in a big way, and you will ruin the Chinese economy on top of that. Because China has no domestic production worth the name. Whatever you see, razzle-dazzle or China is not indigenous. We are more indigenous. Our manufacturing sector is much more Indian than the manufacturing sector of China being Chinese. But we don't realize our potential. So therefore, here again I'm saying, we are on the verge of, we can bring about an economic revolution, provided we follow the right policies. Like in 1990, we were in such a miserable condition, people thought we are done for. We are going to become a colony of the IMF, World Bank. Go and read the paper cuttings of that time. And overnight we became a miracle. The same way today, India can overnight transform, and by 2020, it can become a global economic power. And if China has an economic crisis, a financial breakdown, as I'm expecting, then we will overtake China. And we have a young population. This young population, if you educate them properly, they'll become inventors, innovators. There's so many things to be done which the Americans will not do. Because they have got surplus of oil, they will not work on hydrogen fuel cells. But we have to depend on the Arab world for oil, 85%. So, if we decide to have automobiles go by hydrogen fuel cells batteries, then we will not need oil. Or at least the dependence will go down very substantially. It will affect, if all in the world people start taking to hydrogen fuel cells, it's the cleanest. It won't give you pollution like alcohol. I mean, by crude oil produced petrol. It's a very clean fuel. If you do it, Americans will not do it because this research, because they got plenty of oil. And now they have discovered a new source called shale oil. There's no shortage of oil in China. So the oil companies are very powerful in America. They say, no. All our investments will go down the drain. You can't switch to hydrogen fuel cells. But we can. If we do, and then others do, then the Arabs will have to go back to their tents and their camel. They will no more be able to finance the terrorists. So all this requires policy. The policy is known. It requires a new set of people who are willing to do it. Or a crisis which forces us to do it. India has always responded very well to crisis, so I'm looking forward to another crisis very soon. I have spoken to you many times about corruption. This can be rooted out, it's not a problem. But I think we need a cultural change. This craze for material prosperity, which has gripped us after this globalization, that should be moderated a bit. We need to materially progress. But we must also have values. Our values are different. In America, a leader has to be the most well-dressed person. Suit, boot, tie, shining shoes. But in our country, Mahatma Gandhi just had a langoti and everybody followed him. Because we don't look upon people high up in society as people who must be necessarily well-dressed. Our sadhus have got only Bhagwa. Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, Ramdev, Swamy Dayananda Saraswati. See all these sadhus, very simply dressed. But see their Pope, how well dressed he is. Never in anything but satin. So we have always felt that material progress must be balanced with spiritual advancement. So sacrifice, simplicity, these are values. We are losing that. The moment you start losing it, then you become greedy. When you think money can decide everything, then society will become corrupt. We are corrupt, getting more and more corrupt today because money is everything. You can buy anything. Even that fellow who raped this young girl, he offered some money, he said, paisa le jao. What cheek? So, and then even social values will come down. Today, people who are raping and killing, they all think that ultimately it can be decided by money. Going to court, we can buy this man, we can buy that man. It's only a short-term thing. Dawood Ibrahim thinks so. No one has done anything to him. So, consequently, I'm saying that this craze for money, this value system has to change. You can't decide a person's social status on money. You can certainly say nothing wrong with earning money. And if you want to acquire social status, then donate what you don't, beyond what you have earned. I mean, beyond what you need, you give to society. Philanthropy. Even the American society have better philanthropy than us. So, consequently, we today have to examine this from this angle. Now, we have, therefore, to go for a new mindset. I have many, many questions. If I cover all these, we'll be in trouble. Then I'll have to sit till tomorrow morning. Maybe we'll have another conference. And then the topic will be... We are faced with a major national security threat. Our neighbor Pakistan is soon going to the grip of Taliban. I've been warning this for the last 3 years consistently. See, Pakistan is essentially controlled by the army. The army has divided Pakistan into 7 parts. They're called, and each is headed by a general called a corps commander. If these 7 people meet, that's the end. How did Musharraf come to power when Nawaz Sharif was Prime Minister? These 7 corps commanders met, and then one brigadier went with a lock and key, and he put a lock on the Supreme Court, put a lock on the Parliament of Pakistan, and a lock on Nawaz Sharif's house also. Told him stay inside. And called Musharraf and gave him the oath of office. He became martial law administrator. The impact of Taliban on the army started growing from the captain level several years ago. Now the captain has become lieutenant colonel to colonel, colonel to brigadier, and now a few have come to be major general. In another year or 2, they will be generals. There will be corps commanders. They will take over. Then we will have a war. Because Taliban has made it very clear. India is an incomplete chapter of Islamic history. When I speak about this, people think I'm anti-Muslim. I'm not anti-Muslim. Why should I be anti-Muslim? Those Muslims in India who identify with India, they are as much my brothers and sisters. Their DNA is the same. I'm ready to test it. In my family, I've got all religions. I've got Jews, Muslims, Parsis, Christians. Is there anything left? No. Jews also there. Yeah. Well, you have a daughter and I have a son, then we can think of something. So the question is not religion. The question is question of cultural values. Hindus anyway accept that all religions lead to God. So we cannot be against Islam because you pray to Allah. We cannot be against Christians because you pray to Christ and the Lord. But at the same time, we want to make sure that the history of this country, which is a long, long history, is not subverted. Islam went to Iran and completely made it 100% Muslim within 15 years. Went to Mesopotamia and Babylon, which is now Iraq, in 17 years 100% Muslim. Then went to Egypt and made Egypt in 21 years 100% Muslim. Christians went to Europe, in 50 years they made it 100% Christian. Here 800 years of Islamic rule, 200 years of Christian rule, we are still 83% Hindu. When Hindus were 100% of India, we received the Jews and the Parsis. We built their temples for them. When the Muslims came in Kerala, they were got them married, and we called them Mapillai, which is in English called Mopla. But we have found that when the Muslim population in any area becomes 100% or 75%, overwhelming majority, their approach to minorities is different than from Hindus towards minorities. In Saudi Arabia, I cannot build a temple. We got how many? 2 million Indians, Hindus there, or Hindus and Muslims, but they will not allow you to build a temple. They will not allow you to celebrate Diwali. They will not allow you to do Satyanarayan Puja inside your house. They will not even allow you to carry Ramchandraji's photograph in your pocket. That's their law. I don't grudge it. If Saudi Arabia is another country, if they want this law, they can have. But in India, we also find in Kashmir. What is the fault of the Kashmiri Pandits? Why have they been driven out? Because I can read out. I've got the statements of 1990 made by Hizbul Mujahideen and Jamaat-e Islami. All these statements where they have said, we want Kashmir to go according to Islamic laws and the Shariat. And if any minority wants to live here, they must abide by Islamic laws. That is their mindset. That's very clear. It is this Hindu whose mind is very confused. You see, I am all for secularism if I could understand what that means. Maybe you can ask Professor Vaidyanathan to explain. But the fact is, if it means treating all religions as equal, that is fundamental part of Hinduism. So I have in my party Muslims who have known me for years and years. They have never left me. They understand me. But this is what I am propagating is so dangerous for the mullahs and the extremists that they want to make out that I am anti-Muslim. And this so-called liberal left wing, they are also afraid this fellow will confuse the Muslim and he'll make them all one. In fact, Iqbal used to call India, Sare Jahan se Achha Hindustan Hamara. So, this Hindu-Muslim unity based on a mutual trust and mutual understanding is something they are afraid of. In Saudi Arabia, the ambassador recently met me. They invited me to come to Saudi Arabia. I don't know whether I should go. Maybe I can recommend Professor Vaidyanathan to go to Saudi Arabia. They need to learn some laws of finance, so maybe for you to go. But I asked him, what is your approach to masjids? Because I just recently saw a photograph of several masjids being broken in the Makkah area. Earlier on also they broke masjid to build the palace of the Sheikh, which was Bilal Masjid, where Muhammad used to read namaz. So, at that time some archaeologists said that please leave this masjid alone, because Saudi Arabia regularly demolishes masjid and builds roads. So I asked him, he said yes, because masjid is a place where you read namaz. Even when the Bilal Masjid was demolished and these archaeological people objected, our king said that this is what is called in Hindi as Murti Puja. So what if Muhammad read namaz there? It doesn't make it a sacred place. Masjid is a place to read namaz. You can read namaz anywhere. I would urge the Muslim population of India, please use that principle. And that principle must be applied to Ayodhya. That principle should be applied to Vrindavan. Should be applied to Kashi Vishwanath. Can anyone deny that there were temples there before and they were demolished? We'll build another masjid nearby. Beautiful. Across Saryu river in Ayodhya, in another part of Banaras, in another area of Vrindavan. We build a masjid for you. But since it is not a religious place for you, yes, you may be feeling hurt that it was a mob came and broke the masjid. Some people took their law into their own hands. But if a government decides, and this is what the judgment on Ayodhya by the constitutional bench of the Supreme Court said, that only thing we are objecting to is the unauthorized demolition of Babri Masjid. But in the British time and in Arab countries, in Pakistan, masjids are regularly demolished to build roads. This one of the charges against Musharraf is that he demolished 6 masjids to build roads. So if the Muslim community itself decides to say, yes, you are right, build us another one in a nearby place and we will clear it out only for these 3. We are not asking for all the 3,000 over the country. And then what an atmosphere that would be built. But people don't want Hindus and Muslims to come together. And therefore, at some stage we have to make it clear that yes, if we come to power on the basis of the Hindu assertion of its identity, then we will certainly sit with the Muslim community, Muslim leaders and tell them that we have to do this. Do it with you, if possible. Do it with you if possible, without you if necessary, in spite of you if it becomes absolutely essential. So this is the new society, united Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Parsi, Sikh. We say we don't want to interfere in any religious practice of yours, but there are some fundamentals which must be common. If Muslims can accept uniform civil code in Australia, if Muslims can accept uniform civil code in America, if Muslims can accept uniform civil code in most of Europe, then I don't see why Muslims cannot accept uniform civil code in our country, which is part of the Constitution. The problem is that no one has spoken to the Muslim community frankly. They are all the time playing on them and afterwards don't do anything. Mulayam Singh is called Mullah, Mulayam, but has he done anything for the Muslims there? Go and ask the Muslims. Has Congress done anything? They are now going to bring a bill, prevention of communal violence in India. Prevention of. If you read the bill, it's shocking. I hope they bring it because then I'll get another chance to go to the court. It says that if any Muslim complains that a communal riot has been engineered by a Hindu without investigation, that Hindu will be arrested and put in jail immediately. Normally, today, if some Muslim goes and complains, there will be an FIR, then there will be an investigation, then only the decision will be taken. But no, he says that immediately it has to be. And if you don't, then that police officer will be suspended. This is all brainchild of Sonia Gandhi. It's the only bill that Sonia Gandhi has directly introduced in Parliament through the NAC. I don't know what legality there is on that, because only the law ministry can introduce a bill. But today we have a NAC introduced bill, which they want to bring this week. We like to see. I hope she brings it. Because they do these foolishness, they will only create more Hindu consciousness in the country. Sonia Gandhi is up to no good, I can tell you. Her time is limited. Of course, all our time is limited, but in her case, the doctors have limited her time. In your case, my case, God has limited the time. I looked at him and said it because I know he has some sympathy for her. Because he says that I'm the only one concerned about her health.
The whole country?
Yeah, in the whole country. And you were saying it as a criticism that I'm the only one, or you want more people to also be concerned about her health? Anyway, the issue is that these people are not coming back to power. And if we play our cards correctly, the NDA will be definitely in power with an overwhelming majority. That is what Professor Vaidyanathan means by change in the air. On that I have no doubt. I used to have the same view during the emergency because I was moving underground. I was in touch with the people. When I told people outside India, when I went back, that India, if there's an election, will win it, they used to say, what is he talking about? Of course, I didn't think Indira Gandhi herself would be defeated. So, therefore, we need therefore to know exactly what to do. We need therefore to be very clear that all the science today says that Aryan Dravidian theory is bogus. It says that the world today, world research says that the most advanced language, most computer-friendly language in the world is Sanskrit. Today we have the resources of the world, we have 12 months of the year we can do agriculture and only 25% is used for more than one crop when we can grow 3 crops. So the potential of India is enormous. But the problem is that we have got stuck with this Italian lady who has been nothing but corrupt. And she's reduced everybody into a sycophant. If you want to survive, you have to be a sycophant. Sometimes people tell me, why you are against her? She is trying to be a good daughter-in-law of India. She wears a sari, puts on tika, does namaste. Well, please read Ramayana. That same logic, Sita saw Ravan dressed in Bhagwa and she crossed the Lakshman Rekha and you know what happened. You can't be fooled by foreigners wearing your dress or doing this drama. So, of course, there is no possibility of now they are ever coming to power. That son of hers is a big Buddhu, so he has no chance. And therefore, I think that we must now start thinking in terms of how I as a PT can be a different person. As I say, of course you must know your identity. It's there in my book and this new monograph I have circulated. It is there in that also. And you must know, if possible, I would like you, or if not possible for you to learn yourself to propagate it. Sanskrit should be learnt because it creates a vibration in your body which will change you. And you must have a positive attitude to the future. Yes, I can. What can I do as an individual? Of course, as an individual you can do. All through our history, individuals have stood up. Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, he was an individual. Shivaji was an individual. Rana Pratap lost, but he was an individual who showed great independence. Subhash Chandra Bose. In the south, Kattabomman. Rani Chennamma in Karnataka. So individuals matter a lot in our system. In our theology, Hindu individual is very important. So think of yourself as an instrument of God, as an individual who is having a positive view. Not that things will happen. One event in the press, you get depressed. Of course, your enemies will try to bundle and say all kinds of things, but develop a thick skin. You need a thick skin. You need a skin of a rhinoceros to survive in this world. Don't bother about criticism. If you think you're doing right, that's all that matters, not what others think. So that kind of attitude you will have to develop. Now, I have only one thing to say. A major election is coming. You become now soldiers in that war, which is called election. In your area, find out where your booth is. Create a committee of 5 people. Get hold of the voter list of that booth. That means only 1,000 votes. election has usually about 15 lakh votes. And there are about 1500 booths, which means each booth has 1000 votes. That 1000 votes, find out who's there, who's not there. So that in the booth, when the party you want to win, you either sit as their agent or you assist that party to tell you who are the impersonators. Now it will be very difficult to use the electronic voting machine because I have won that battle in the Supreme Court. There, the court has now said, has accepted my plea that if the Election Commission wants to use the electronic voting machine, it must have a screen where the name must come, the serial number must come, and the symbol must come. And then a voter slip must come out, which you see, and it drops into a box just attached to that machine. The Election Commission has agreed to do it. I asked them to do a trial run in Karnataka election. They said it was too short a notice. But in any by-election starting July, they are willing to do a trial run. And certainly for the next Lok Sabha election, whether it is in October or whether it is in May of next year, the electronic voting machine will be a new machine which this Tadaka will not be able to manipulate. I also recommend, see, in Hinduism there is no law. There is no law which says you can't do this, you can't do that. But the Hindus generally say that if you do like this, then this will happen. If you want your mind to be free of vibrations, disturbances, you want your mind to be steady, then it says be a vegetarian. But it doesn't say being non-vegetarian is bad. If you are non-vegetarian, then you will have tamas nature. But if you want a nature where you can meditate, then you have to be vegetarian. The choice is yours. But I would certainly strongly recommend to all of you, don't touch alcohol. Like cigarettes originally was very fashionable. It was a status symbol. Today, nobody is recommending cigarettes. They in fact put warning that will lead to cancer. Alcohol does two things. One, there is no such thing as moderate alcohol. The day you have a crisis, you will go over the line. It affects your liver. So get these good habits. I'm not asking you to get up at 4 a.m. like I do. But because you must have a minimum of 7-8 hours of sleep. If not possible all in one blow, then you must have it in the afternoon after lunch. But if you want to be a different person, a different Indian, then your value systems will have to undergo change. Because today, to globalization, westernization, we have acquired all kinds of values from them, which now they are beginning to change. A big movement for vegetarianism in America. There's a big movement for being a teetotaler in America. There's even people taking to our meditation and all that. But I want us to learn from ourselves and be a new Indian. Self-confident, not depressed by failures. Every failure should make you committed to try again. If you want to learn from Muhammad Ghori. He lost 16 times. On the 17th time he came and established his religion here. So don't give up on anything. Be clear on your goals and follow it with determination and be the renaissance of India, which is coming in the next few years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. We'll be now taking questions, and before that, Mr. Rajendran, on behalf of the Tevar Samaj of Bombay, is going to offer a shawl to Dr. Swamy. Please be seated. We will end the program around 6 o'clock. The mics, we will take these questions also, in the slips also. Please be quick with the mics. First preference should be given to those who have not asked questions in the earlier part of the day, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, this is Suresh Nakhwa from Mumbai. My question is about 2G scam. In 2G scam, 122 licenses were cancelled and they were penalized to the tune of 550 crore. The license fee which was paid 1680 CR should have actually been sunk. But what has been done is 550 crore has been penalized and 1130 crores have been adjusted against 3G. So isn't it another scam in the making?
Well, we have raised this matter in the court. You see, the thing is the license has been cancelled and they have to participate in an auction to get it back. So there the problem arose. They said we have already sunk 1653 crores when we paid for the original license. And why should we be asked to pay the same? Well, there it has been decided, no, you start all over again, because what you did was corrupt act, and therefore we cannot refund that money. But as far as the adjustment against 3G and all concerned, I think the court is still seized of it, because it's not you don't know how hard our Supreme Court judges are being worked. We have not taken it up because there is a definite loss for those telecom operators, and that loss comes for the fact that they have lost their license and they have to rebid in an open auction.
So,
Yeah.
I'm from PTI. I wanted to ask, when you said NDA should play its cards well, so how would you see this about this JDU and Shiv Sena's statements on that leadership issue of NDA?
Well, I think those can be sorted out in a meeting of the NDA. Let me tell you, there are 7 members of the NDA. 6 are all have no objection whatsoever to selecting somebody who doesn't meet the secular standards of the JDU. So the JDU may have said whatever they have, but this is not in a meeting. Unless the NDA meets and decides, nothing can be done. It is now accepted that whoever is the BJP candidate will be the NDA candidate. But the JDU has put an extra condition. And these are matters to be discussed. These are not, people say lots of things for atmospherics. But I would like to see whether they are serious about it when a meeting of the NDA takes place. And so far no such meeting has taken place, nor is it necessary to have a meeting at this stage.
This is Mukund Tangsale from Mumbai, Thane. It's very nice to see father and son hand in hand now. Especially in 2014 election.
Maybe before.
Maybe before, fine. And they have taken steps of exposing. This line of appeal is great for voters, especially literate. But now, can the Congress strategy of help, hard help, in every form to the voters right from the grassroots level, can counter your hard help in because it has more positive effect than soft appeal line?
See, I've heard this kind of thing before. When start with 1977, we were told that we are all coming out of jail, we have no money, and Indira Gandhi is in power, she's got All India Radio. Those days only All India Radio and Doordarshan was there. and she has got these, and therefore, she will give money, she will do this, she will do that. But the people's sentiment was hurt, and therefore, no matter what she did, she received a very severe defeat. In 2011, or rather 2011, I think, 2011, the Tamil Nadu Assembly elections took place, and everybody said that Karunanidhi is going to give 6,000 rupees per vote, plus he is going to give free TV, free laptop, free cinema cassettes, and all kinds of things. And therefore people will be swinging on that. Well, I found that the Tamil people took the 6,000 rupees, the laptop and the TV, free TV, and after that went and voted against the DMK. The DMK was defeated thoroughly. Our people are sufficiently intelligent, and I think Congress has no chance at all. And we have to just make sure that by the time they leave, the crisis in the economy, in the politics, the national security is not such that we enter into a crisis before a new NDA government comes. But I am 100% certain that we will have an NDA government in place in the next election. Now, there's a question which is repeatedly being asked: from which disease is Taraka suffering? Taraka is in Ramayana. You know, Taraka was the first person Ram killed. Vishwamitra took him because Taraka was killing all the rishis, and therefore she was a demon. Because she became a demon because of a curse. And so Rama, she was able to devour anybody who came to touch her, came near her. But Rama was able to kill her. So he killed her. That's how we say anyone who plays an obstructionist role is Taraka and is a female. So now all of you are interested in the health condition of he's turning his face away.
Only one person is concerned about the health.
Well,
even Prime Minister, I don't think he is worried about it.
No. They dare not be worried because it is state secret. She went to America in 2011, and there in Sloan Kettering, she was told that she has terminal cancer of the pancreas, and there was no point in operating her. So then she flew to Netherlands, and there she has lots of friends there, and it's also a very strongly Catholic country, I think. And there she had an operation for what is called Whipple procedure. I don't know if there's any doctor here, but Whipple procedure is where you remove the alimentary canal, because pancreas, you see, is something which moves very slowly. But the food, the demands of food to neutralize it, to bring out the necessary fluids to help digestion, the strain should be minimum. So she took it out. Unfortunately, her last visit showed that she is now in not a good state. Don't go by the way she looks. Everybody, has become a doctor. They say, "Oh, she looks fine." If you saw Stephen Jobs of Apple 2 days before his death, you would have said, "Oh, what wonderful." He was in fact addressing the general body meeting of the shareholders meeting of the Apple company. So pancreas is that kind of thing which doesn't, it is, till the last moment you don't know. And that's what she's got. Now, I don't see why it should be hidden. Supposing I got it wrong, which is unlikely because it just came to me straight from the Americans. If I got it wrong, she'll make it bring out a bulletin. When Manmohan Singh was operated in All India Medical Institute, they were giving every day a bulletin. How many valves, how many veins, heart veins leading to the heart were replaced by bypass and all that. And this is his weight, this is his blood pressure, etc. It happens in America also. The president goes to hospital, there will be almost an hourly bulletin. I don't know why this secrecy is being maintained, and why she should have to go on a private plane each time. Nowadays she goes to a place called Mayo Clinic in Rochester in Minnesota, a town called Rochester. Rochester is a common name for many towns in America, but this one is in Minnesota. And there's a very famous cancer clinic there called Mayo Clinic. She went there, came back, and the report was not good. And so I would not mention her private health problems unless they started telling lies. I know many other health problems of the Nehrus, but I don't make it public because they're not telling lies. One of them has an alcoholic problem, another had a psychiatric treatment. This is the fact of life for the Nehrus. But in this particular case, they were saying he's gone to ICU, she's now got operation, now she's cured. That Janardhan Dwivedi was telling all kinds of lies. So I had to contradict that. That's why I'm telling you about it. We have to seriously start thinking about post-Taraka time. Yeah.
Sir, this is Shekhar here. Shekhar Malik.
Where? Put your hand up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. See, I'm an MBA finance, and being in the banking industry, kind of seeing quite a lot. What's probably Professor Vaidyanathan, Venkatesh sir, or Srita Dalal ma'am said. That's why I have a materialistic question and a non-materialistic question. Materialistic being 2G. There's another view that had that not been the low auction prices, there wouldn't have been a telecom revolution. That's question number 1A. 1B being NREGA and EVM being the major tools in 2009 elections. Food security bill and the direct cash transfer with the help of PAN card and Aadhaar card is going to be the next killer in 2014. Okay. A non-materialistic part, which I probably try to talk to Mr. Venkatesh in the break. Sorry, sir. Sir, as Professor Vaidyanathan said, that you have an educated youth who doesn't fear God or law because he knows quite a lot. And then you have black money who says, I am earning, so what is nationalism? I don't know. I'm earning well and I'm earning good. Third battle of Panipat was probably lost because somebody paid that Islam chap to know the ford in the Yamuna river. He was paid and he told kahan se wo niklega, and the Marathas were cordoned off of the food grain supplies. So it is exactly happening in 2013 also. I see around it myself being in the finance industry. Okay. So nobody is talking about, it has gone out of fashion to talk about the ethics and the upbringing which we are brought up with. We are okay with earning money.
Well, I agree with you that there is this danger that is developing, and that's why I'm asking you to be different. If you want to be the same thing, then you don't belong here. Essentially, even today, the vast majority of India is still by the old Sanatana Dharma values. And I don't agree. This is just this city, newer rich crowd which talks in this language. Now I'll come back to your fundamental question that the low price was due to that which caused the telecom revolution. Well, you would have been right if after getting a license at a low price, none of these companies which got the license at the low price sold it at 8 times the price to foreign companies. Swan Telecom sold it to Etisalat for 8 times the price. So did Unitech. They sold it to Telenor for 8 times the price. Tata sold to Docomo half its license, or the share of its license, for 13 times, because Tata had an infrastructure. These Unitech and Swan, they were real estate companies. They should never have got a license in the first place. But all of them, one sold it to Sistema in Russia, some sold it to Vodafone, like that. All of them, having got the license cheaply, they sold it to foreign companies at 8 times the price. So why couldn't the government sell to the telecom company directly at 8 times the price? I think that's the key question. So this is a bogus argument that the prices would be kept low. The 3G prices are quite low, and the telecom company is, and it was auctioned, and the telecom companies are complaining. So I don't think this is an argument that can be accepted.
Sir, good
Yes,
evening,
sir.
sir.
Well, I'll come to you next.
I have one question to Professor Vaidyanathan. Actually, in the previous session, you talked about the investment in gold. But if you see, we import nearly 95% of our gold, and India is the largest importer of gold. And all gold import cause a major problem, what Dr. Swamy has mentioned, that current account deficit, trade deficit, balance of payment, and associated problem. So whether should we really encourage to invest in gold?
Yeah, it's not the question of whether you encourage or not, right? That's the first thing. Second is, this current account deficit is not exclusively due to gold or anything. 39 billion, I think if I remember the figure correctly, we have been importing, significant amount of goods from China, Australia and other things. Nobody seems to think that we import berry, we import apple, we import fruits, milk. No, that's the total. What I am telling is, that is not the only, what one can call the culprit or anything. And why do also people, invest in gold? Because there are no other trustworthy, facilities available in our country. And kindly note, don't look upon gold as something people invest and then keep it inside. That is only for salary earning middle class. For large number of small businesses in this country, gold is a instrument for credit. I was telling in the morning about how they are to get money from the unorganized sector, and for that gold is the major collateral. Without gold you are not going to get any credit. So it's a credit instrument also. It is not just what one can call people buy some chain or something and then keep it. So it is not something which you can take a decision or you can take in terms of the right. Yeah.
We got only 5 minutes. I'll have to. There's another question.
Yeah.
No, this guy is.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. First of all, very much thankful to you for organizing, and we are overwhelmed.
I didn't. Jagdish Shetty did.
Okay.
And
Thanks to Jagdish Shetty. Sir, somebody said about fathers and, so we are the grandfathers, we introduce Jansang. So if the son is behaving wrongly, can we intervene and see to it that the father and son behave properly? Yeah.
Some efforts are going on.
So
Don't worry.
So as grandfathers, because we are the origins of Jansang.
Yeah.
And nationalists.
No, you are also a son of the RSS, no?
Yeah.
So RSS is the primary responsibility.
Yeah.
Your great-grandson, I'm a great-grandson maybe. But the fact is that some efforts are going on. And
yeah, but sir, the son is not behaving properly. They are forgetting Ram Mandir, Article 370, cow slaughter, everything.
But father has not forgotten.
Yeah, that's the reason we are saying.
So not to worry. So, you cannot get another father, but you can always get another son.
Yeah. So last thing. Hope to see you soon in 7 Race Course Road.
How about that? Whoever is the Prime Minister, I'll certainly visit him. So I'll be... Now, there are some written questions, then I'll come to you. We have very short of time. They say, is it possible to reclaim Kashmir from Pakistan? He's put Islamists, but it's not in the hands of Islamists. It's in... well, certainly, there's no question. And I'm happy to say that we Janata Party people, we have a unit in Kashmir where the President Abdul Rahman Lone publicly gives statements which the press doesn't publish here about how the whole of Kashmir is part of India and that the terrorists should get out and go back to Pakistan, otherwise they'll be finished off. So there is a room there in Kashmir of people who are fed up with all that has happened. And we have to wait for an opportunity. The opportunities come. Who ever thought that East Germany and West Germany will become one? It suddenly happened because Gorbachev came and he ruined the Soviet Union, and Soviet Union became disintegrated into 16 countries, and it happened. World War II has changed the maps of so many countries. So, if the Taliban puts a war on us, then we will take our army up to Baluchistan and Afghanistan. Now, there's another question. What about Ram Setu? Ram Setu, 29th April is coming up, and as was mentioned, the question of it being touched is out of the question now. Now the only thing remains is making it into a national monument, so that the government will look after it, and so that, and the Sri Lankans also have now created 32 sites in Sri Lanka, where the Sanjeevani mountain, which Hanuman brought, is there, where Ashok Vatika, where Sita used to stay, that is there, Ravan's palace is there. So one of these days we will be able to walk from the shores of India to the shores of Sri Lanka. So that is, and I'm happy to say that Jayalalitha's government has just filed an affidavit in support of all this. She has said that this whole Ram Setu project, Setu Samudram project, is an environmental disaster, and that it is necessary for our country's identity that Ram Setu should be declared as a national monument. So Jayalalitha also can be sometimes sensible. Huh? So this is there's a question about where do I learn my history. A lot of people are work at it, and the leading person is Mr. Rajiv Malhotra. We are all assisting him, and we will have, when the new government comes, we will have a new textbook, and this Aryan Dravidian theory will be bent. Somebody says, can I join politics? Would you recommend joining active politics full time? Well, that you better ask your wife, because it is hardest on the wife. If a man joins politics, he must have the cooperation of the family. And of course, I don't want you to cooperate so much that you bring them all into politics also. This whole dynasty business is getting too much. So they should be supportive, and but I would say the best way to start is take hold of one booth and demonstrate to the political party that you have understood what the electoral process is. Then the parties themselves will come to you. If you go to the party and say, take me, they will not treat you well. But if you have shown that you have some ability, then political parties themselves will want to recruit you. That is the best way to get in. Okay, any other questions? Last question.
Good evening, sir. Gunjan Mathur here.
How much, Jagdish? How many questions? One question. Okay.
So my question to Swamy sir, who has been a frequent visitor of Supreme Court. We have been hearing so many verdicts from...
I'm not a visitor, I'm a litigant.
Yes, I mean...
You have been influenced by, I think, our new Chief Justice.
My question is, we have been hearing so many verdicts on scams. Supreme Court is only punishing them, the ministers. There is no word on how to recover the money back.
Yeah, because I have not filed a petition. Supreme Court suo moto cannot do it. And I will file the petition later. I have to file a petition on Sonia Gandhi and Balu on Ram Setu also, because they are saying we have spent 861 crores. So why did you spend it? It's an illegal project. So I'm asking, I'll be filing a petition one of these days, saying once the case is over, that all this money should be recovered from the wealth of T.R. Balu and Sonia Gandhi. So the same way here also, wherever the money is lost, we'll definitely move. This matter is not over yet.
Good luck.
Sir, just wanted to know, is and will the President's post be ever relevant in India?
Yes, it is relevant, because it's a way where a President gives you a breathing time. Supposing Cabinet decides something, the President can give you advice to reconsider the matter. Yes. Relevance, of course it is. The President is today a visitor for every university. No selection committee of any university can be constituted without the president recommending the names. So he has many functions, you do not know. The only thing he doesn't have is the executive power. But he is Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army. The Indian Army is under him, not under the cabinet. Cabinet only recommends that this is the decision you have to take and he has to sign or ask for further clarification. After that, if he still doesn't agree, then he is compelled to sign. He can only say no once. Well, he has used his powers. I think in the case of Abdul Kalam, he returned one bill. I forget which one was it. Bihar thing. He returned it. So, yeah, but that's because you got Fakhruddin. You want another Fakhruddin there? Have good people, and the present president is also very independent person. He has shown the moment the recommendations came that Afzal Guru should be hanged, he immediately signed it. And Kasab also immediately signed it. So, therefore, it depends on the president. If you have Pratibha Patil, of course, what do you expect?
So, friends, no, we'll have to, no, please. We have to end this question answer session. We have two small programs to complete the whole day's event. One is a vote of thanks. Please bear with us. And then we have the full Vande Mataram, again sung by Srimati Subramanian Joshi. So please participate in both the programs, and then our program come to an end. I understand your enthusiasm with these more questions, but we will try to accommodate them in some form or the other. I request all the Tweeples from wherever respective cities you are, will like to share the list with you of your respective cities. Please take this issue forward. Dr. Swamy is present today here, but you can have your city or your area networking with the Tweeples so that you develop programs and have interaction on issues of importance in your localities. So with this note, I would now request Sri Manoj Mehta to propose a vote of thanks.